I have spent the last 6 months testing AA powered flashlights to come up with a list, a top 10 list of flashlights that I can genuinely recommend. And it's finally here. I'm done. Let's go ahead and get right to it. So firstly, let me say thank you for stopping in. My name is Dominic, and this is the Max Level EDC channel. So before we start revealing these flashlights, I want to talk about the criteria I had when I selected them. There is a very strict set. In some cases, we're going to have some honorable mentions as well because they fall just outside of those requirements. So for beginners, all of these flashlights, all of them have to be $50 or less. They all have to have a waterproof rating of IPX7 or better. They all have to be able to use at least 2 different output modes. They all have to be able to use not 1, not 2, but 3 different types of fuel. The 14500, a rechargeable battery, as well as the standard disposable alkaline, so that they would have the versatility to be used in a variety of different scenarios for different purposes. And this eliminated quite a few. So we are going to get to a top 10 list, but first, let's talk about 3 honorable mentions that just fell outside of those ranges. Now, our first honorable mention is going to be the Olight i5R. Now, unfortunately, after a lot of testing, it does not function properly with a standard 14500. The one that comes built into it is a 2.4 volt battery versus the 3.7 volts that it needs to be set up for in order to take a standard 14500. It's still a great flashlight though, and has actually one of the best run times of any of the flashlights on the list. And so I definitely could recommend it in general. And if you don't care about having a tire stack of 14500s, you don't have a charging bay, this is a great solution because it has a Type-C charging battery built into it. So it's still a great flashlight. It just technically doesn't have the versatility of fuel that these other ones will. The next honorable mention is going to be the Reylight Pineapple and the Reylight Land. Now, these are incredibly premium flashlights, and they run as low as $70. Unfortunately, that's still outside of our normal range. But even the titanium comes in just under 100, and they're incredibly good if you like to customize your user interface. And if you are a true tint snob, if you really want to get the exact CRI of 95 plus while still having a high output, this is a great flashlight. I am hoping by the time you watch this, maybe sometime in the future, they will finally have released the aluminum variant of either the Pineapple or the Land so that we will be able to then reevaluate it on this list. So it's an excellent flashlight. It just runs a little bit outside of the normal price range. Now, the third honorable mention is probably the one that hurts the most personally because I feel like it's this close to being my top 5 flashlight maybe ever. And that is gonna have to go with the Streamlight Protac 1L 1A. Now, this flashlight is significantly bigger than other AA powered flashlights, but it has a really cool trick. It can not only use normal rechargeable batteries or alkaline, it can also use the CR123, a very different form factor, in fact, and it can have quite a bit of output. Even though it says 350 lumens, it has a huge candela of 6400. So this is a great flashlight with 2 modes that has basically the ability to use almost any disposable battery that you have. You can even use a AAA. If you wrap it a little bit with tape, it'll actually run on it thinking that it's a AA. It just won't have as long run time. So great flashlight. Absolutely fantastic clip, one of my favorites in fact. And it doesn't make the list because it can't technically use a 14500, but it's definitely worth mentioning. Now, one quick note before we get to number 10. Every one of these flashlights is excellent, okay? They still came in way above their competition. I tested about 25 different flashlights to get down to this list of 10. So just keep that in mind. Even though 10 is the lowest of the ranking, it does not mean it's not a great flashlight, which brings us to that number. and that is going to be the Lumintop EDC AA. Now, the thing with this flashlight is it's very much a floody beam. You're not going to get a lot of throw with it. So you kind of lose a lot of the benefits of having a 14500 in the first place. It would be really nice if they had an alternative lens so that it would maybe would project a little bit further, but still quite good. It has a reversible clip, although just keep in mind this clip is actually not very strong. It's very, very flexible. And you can get it either with or without a 14500 battery. The best thing about this though is it comes in just under $20. So it's one of the best values on this list, and it's definitely something I would recommend. All right, coming in at number 9 is a flashlight I don't actually have with me, but I have reviewed in the past, the Skilhunt E2A. Now, actually, this is not a flashlight that I particularly liked as much as others, but when you actually boil it all down to stats, runtime, and output, it actually performs incredibly well against the field. So this comes in with a very good rating, and yeah, it's a solid flashlight for sure. Now coming in at number 8 is the Eagtac D25A. Now this is actually a favorite flashlight of mine, in part because I really enjoy the way this interface works. It doesn't have any memory, but you can still either access the highest or lowest mode depending on whether the head is screwed all the way down or not. It has an incredibly high output and some pretty good run times as well, and is one of the smallest flashlights that I have on the table. The only thing that I have had an issue with particularly is the fact that it does not have a double-sided clip to be able to clip onto my hat. And from time to time, I have certainly found it difficult to get access to their customer service team when I've had an issue with other flashlights of theirs. So just keep that in mind, and that's a consistency. So other than that, it's a fantastic light and is definitely worth looking at from a stat perspective. Now coming in at number 7 is our first entry by Acebeam. This is the Pokelit AA, hate the name, but great flashlight and probably the best value light on this entire table, because on top of being only $19 in this color form, it also includes a 14500 that has a Type-C charging port. So it has a very high output of 550 lumens. It has 3 modes, all of which you can cycle through easily with the tail switch, and it works with a variety of different fuels. The thing that kind of drops it down a little bit in my book is how it performs with a AA rechargeable or with the alkaline batteries. It just doesn't have the same run times at the individual levels that I would have expected from this flashlight. But other than that, it's fantastic and has one of the strongest clips actually of any of the flashlights on this list. Incredibly firm and really nice shape as well. So definitely something to check out if you're looking for a truly budget-friendly flashlight that has everything you need built in. All right, coming in at number 6 is one of my favorites. This is the Acebeam Ryder RX. Now, there's something really unique about this light that I've never seen in any other flashlight, and it actually has a fidgeting component, like a bolt action built into the flashlight. Now, this isn't just for the fidget factor, the literal fidget factor. It's also a very useful thing because it allows you to tail stand the flashlight. So it's kind of a great way to have both a proud button and tail stand at the same time. Also, in this particular model, which is still just under the $50 range, has titanium outer shell with an aluminum inner core. And that's a huge advantage because you have the durability of the titanium on the outside, but you have the heat dissipation of the aluminum on the inside. It's just a fantastic combination. And this clip even works pretty well. It's not my favorite clip in the world, but it does a great job and is firm enough that you can use it when you're rotating the bolt action. So this is fantastic, and it has a slightly higher output and slightly longer runtime than the other Acebeam, even with the AA or alkaline batteries. So highly recommended. All right, we are now in our top 5, and just a reminder that all of these flashlights, as well as any reviews I've done on them, are going to be linked down in the description, as well as the pinned comment. So you can always follow along or find the specific chapter section that you're looking for and just jump right to it. All right, number 5 is going to be the Convoy T3. Now, unfortunately, the one that I had, which came from China and takes 3 weeks to get here, walked up on me. But it's worth mentioning nonetheless. It comes in at our 5th spot, and really the big advantage here is you're going to be able to customize it any way you want, with the emitter you want, with the user interface you want. It's got incredibly good value coming in less than $20, and it's just a great light. My only qualm with it is that the pocket clip is not good. It is still reversible though, so you still get the positive ability to be able to use it on your hat, hands-free, but unfortunately you're gonna be stuck with that thin wire clip. So just keep that in mind if you're going to get it. And sometimes they don't even come with a clip, so make sure you add that as well. All right, coming in at number 4, and this is interesting because it's not my favorite flashlight, but based on my criteria for the testing of this, it still scores at number 4, and that's going to be the Lumintop Tool AA. Now, what I find interesting about this flashlight is how conservative they were when listing the outputs, whether it's, I think it's like 750 lumens is what it says on the package. But in all the independent testing I've seen from 1 lumen, 0 air, and many others, it can reach almost 1000 lumens in the first 30 seconds. So it's quite a bit more powerful even than what it's showing. And on top of that, it also has a great user interface, a very nice touch button to select different modes. And if you don't like the button, you can even use just the head to adjust the different modes. So it gives you a lot of versatility. It has a reversible clip, but it's definitely not my favorite clip. It's very, very thin and very flat to the flashlight itself. So great runtime, great output, just generally a great flashlight. It just isn't my favorite, mostly because I think this clip is so low on it and so much of the flashlight sticks out. But nonetheless, at $20, it is incredibly hard to beat this flashlight. And yeah, coming in at number 4. All right, we are now in the top 3. And we're gonna start with the one that surprised me the most, because it is a recent addition, and I'm not sure it would have even been on the list had it not been for a recent review done on it. So that is going to be the Skilhunt M150 version 3. So this flashlight comes in just under 50, and yet it has magnetic charging built in, although it's not necessary. You have the ability to use a 14500, a AA, an alkaline battery. It has a high CRI version, or a cool white version, depending on how you want to do it. There are multiple positions for the clip itself and many different orientations you can set it up in. It has a magnetic tail base. And the user interface is unique to this flashlight, it and other flashlights made by this brand. And it's by far one of my favorites that I've ever experienced. Now, it's a little bit more complex than some of the more simple flashlights, but man, have they nailed it on this thing. It also has the highest runtime in moonlight of any flashlight on this list. If it's to be believed, 55 days. I'm not gonna test it, but even if it's half that, it's still the longest running flashlight by a far margin. And it's pretty impressive, to say the least. So I'm very, very happy with the way this turned out. I will put a link, like I said, to the review of this flashlight down below. Coming in at number 2, which is also tied for our last flashlight, is going to be the Lumintop E05C. And I say that with emphasis because this looks identical to a past generation flashlight that does not have the same stats or functionality. Its past generation could only use the 14500 and it was not as bright as this flashlight. They have found a way to not only increase its versatility by being able to use a standard AA, but also have maxed it out at 6400 candela. Probably the brightest flashlight on this list, other than the Protac 1L1A. Now that's just the front emitter. The real genius thing here is the fact that it also has a set of side emitters right along the top. And these actually offer a pretty amazing output up to 270 lumens. And you can get a high CRI flood beam in addition to a focused beam out the front. So it's just so versatile. It has a magnetic tail cap an incredible ability to dissipate heat, so it runs much, much longer on high than the other flashlights on this list. And it also has a micro USB port. Now, I didn't add any points for having a port built into it. And I think other than the Skilhunt, this is the only other one that has a different form of charging that doesn't involve charging the battery directly with a port built in. So if they ever improve this to USB Type-C, yeah, it's going to be even better. But even without that, its stats are incredible. Its functionality is incredible and versatile. Yeah, this is a fantastic light. I haven't even had a chance to review it yet, but trust me when I say this is worth it. Just make sure before you order it that you are getting the right model, because they look identical to the past generation, and the E05C is the one you want. All right, coming in at number 1, and I'm super happy about this because it checks a lot of boxes for a lot of different people, including the budget category. This is the Sofirn SP10 PRO. Now, we could do a whole video on this. In fact, I talked a couple of times about this flashlight, but it really, really boggles my mind that this could be in existence at the price point that it's at. It is capable of using any of the AA sized batteries. It has a user interface that is completely programmable, Endurial 2.0. You can have a magnetic tail base if you choose. You can program the lockout outputs. It comes with a reversible pocket clip. It comes in multiple different colors. And it comes with the 14500 battery. Make sure you select the right version for that. It's fantastic. And even with the standard AA, you're going to get a maximum output of 350 lumens. Fantastic. It also uses a Samsung emitter, the LH351D, and that is a high CRI emitter on top of everything else. So between 900 lumens of max output with the 14500 and 350 lumens with a standard AA, long run times, completely programmable interface. This is the one. This is the best one that I have found so far. And if they ever come out with a tail switch version, it'll be even better. But as it is, it's fantastic. And you can't go wrong because they tend to be very inexpensive. And yeah, it's definitely a winner as far as this list is concerned. So I want to say a big thank you for your patience on this list. It has been a while in the making, and I'm just glad to be done with it to some extent, because personally, I have some flashlights on this list that I really, really love and some that I don't like quite as much. But in truth, I think that there's a flashlight on this list for everyone. And that was the whole point of making it in the first place. So I do thank you for your time, and don't worry, we'll be talking again soon.